Champions League drama is exploding. From draw twists to 3 red cards, chaos. Liverpool's European fate is taking shape. Make sure you subscribe now for daily Liverpool updates and breaking UCL news you don't want to miss. Liverpool could face nightmare Champions League scenario with path to final. Liverpool will find out its last 16 opponents and its path to the Champions League final later this week. With the Reds' dream and nightmare scenarios already clear, Liverpool will discover its path to the Champions League final on Friday, with Europe's premier competition now ready to enter the last 16 phase. The Reds know they will face one of Atletico Madrid or Galatasaray next month, with the former having secured its safe passage by beating Club Brugge on Tuesday, while the latter needed extra time to see off Juventus in Turin on Wednesday. It's not just the last 16 ties that will be decided on Friday, though. The modern format of the Champions League, which was first brought in last season, means Arne Slot and his side will also have their potential path to the final in May mapped out. Now that we know the final 16 teams left in the competition, we can see what that could end up looking like. And there is the prospect of a dream or nightmare scenario for the Reds. Dream scenario. There are, of course, only 2 options for the last 16 in Galatasaray or Atletico Madrid, and whichever side Liverpool gets will determine what half of the draw it's placed on. At the risk of this coming back to bite us, the side that Atletico sits in does have the potential to be the easier route. On paper at least, should Liverpool come through another meeting with Diego Simeone's side, then a quarter-final clash with Newcastle looks to be the favourable option if the Magpies can overcome one of Chelsea or Barcelona. Beat Eddie Howe's side, then Reds fans would certainly fancy a semi-final against the competition's surprise package Bodo Glimt. Yes, that does seem very unlikely, but it is possible, and that would be the dream scenario to secure a place in the final. There is still a chance of getting something of a favourable path to Budapest on the other side of the draw. Beating Galatasaray could lead to a quarter-final against Chelsea, which is perhaps the favourable option compared to Paris Saint-Germain or Barcelona, while there is the potential for a semi-final meeting with Sporting CP. Nightmare scenario. Either side of the draw could present Liverpool with what would be a daunting prospect. What you consider to be the true nightmare scenario may well depend on which of Galatasaray or Atletico you view as the tougher test. Either of those last 16 ties could lead to the Reds facing Barcelona in the quarter-finals, followed by Arsenal in the semi-finals. At the same time, there's the potential for a replay of last season's meeting with PSG in the quarter-finals, while Bayern Munich or Manchester City in the semi-finals wouldn't exactly be a welcome encounter, especially having already lost twice to Pep Guardiola's side this season, and neither would be Real Madrid. In any case, Liverpool will be among the favourites to go all the way to the final, and should that happen, the Reds will be confident of claiming their 7th European crown. In another news, Liverpool Champions League confusion addressed after Premier League statement. Liverpool supporters have been given a major hint over when to expect the Reds Champions League round of 16 games to take place. Liverpool will have to wait until Friday before they discover the identity of their opponents in the Champions League round of 16. But supporters already have a very good idea of how they can plan their calendar between now and next month's international break, as the Reds prepare for a pivotal run of 7 games in 22 days. The introduction of 2 extra matches in the Champions League opening stage and the requirement of a play-off round to help determine the 16 teams for the knockout stage has meant there is a much quicker turnaround of matches. Indeed, there will be less than a fortnight between this week's draw for the round of 16 and Liverpool's first leg away from home taking place. A statement from the Premier League this week, though, has hinted heavily at when those games will take place, and that the Reds' scheduled top-flight matches during the period will remain unaffected. The Premier League announced West Ham United v Manchester City on Saturday, March 14th at 12:30 p.m. and Arsenal v Everton on Sunday, March 15th at 2 p.m. are at risk of being changed as a result of the upcoming draw for the Champions League knockout stages. In the case of City, it's because UEFA cannot guarantee their first away leg will take place on Tuesday, March 10th. The Premier League have introduced a rule that teams who play away in the Champions League on a Wednesday are not involved in a Saturday early kickoff. That the Arsenal game is also under threat, though, is what directly affects Liverpool. Similar to the Reds, both Arsenal and Tottenham Hotspur will be at home in their Champions League round of 16 second leg tie, having finished in the top 8 in the league stage. As with Liverpool and Everton, the North London neighbours do not play home games on the same day, and with Liverpool's Premier League clash with Tottenham Hotspur at Anfield on Sunday, March 15th at 4:30 p.m, not under threat of being changed, it indicates both teams must be playing the second leg of their Champions League tie on the Wednesday. While it will only be officially confirmed after Friday's draw, everything points to Liverpool playing their round of 16 away leg on Tuesday, March 10th, and the home game on Wednesday, March 18. And having avoided an away game in the second leg, the Reds' top-flight trip to Brighton will go ahead as planned at 12:30 p.m. on Saturday, March 23rd. Liverpool begin a busy period with a home Premier League against West Ham United on Saturday, 3 p.m, before a double-header against Wolves in the league on Tuesday, 8:15 p.m, ahead of another trip to Molineux in the FA Cup 5th round 3 days later, 8 p.m. In another news, Liverpool handed new Champions League LAST-16 hint after Premier League decision. A Premier League statement has provided strong hints about when Liverpool will play its Champions League round of 16 fixtures in March. Though the draw takes place on Friday, Liverpool must wait until Friday to learn the identity of its opponents in the Champions League round of 16. However, supporters already have a fairly clear picture of how to plan their schedules between now and next month's international break, as the Reds brace themselves for what could be a crucial run of 7 matches in just 22 days. The addition of 2 extra fixtures in the Champions League's opening stage, along with the requirement of an extra playoff round to determine the final 16 teams advancing to the knockout stage, has resulted in a considerably tighter schedule between games. Indeed, fewer than 2 weeks will separate this Friday's round of 16 draw and Liverpool's first leg away from home. A Premier League statement released this week, however, has strongly indicated when those fixtures are likely to take place, and that the Reds' scheduled top-flight matches during this period will remain unaffected, reports the Liverpool Echo. The Premier League confirmed that West Ham United v Manchester City on Saturday, March 14th at 12:30 p.m, GMT and Arsenal v Everton on Sunday, March 15th at 2 p.m. GMT are at risk of rescheduling as a consequence of the forthcoming Champions League knockout stage draw. In City's case, this is because UEFA cannot guarantee their first away leg will fall on Tuesday, March 10th. The Premier League has introduced a rule stipulating that clubs who play away in the Champions League on a Wednesday cannot be involved in a Saturday early kickoff. The threat to the Arsenal fixture is what directly impacts Liverpool. Much like the Reds, both Arsenal and Tottenham Hotspur will host their Champions League round of 16 second-leg ties at home, having secured top 8 finishes in the league stage. As is the case with Liverpool and Everton, the North London rivals do not share home match days, with Liverpool's Premier League encounter against Tottenham Hotspur at Anfield on Sunday, March 15th, remaining unaffected. It suggests both sides must be contesting their Champions League second legs on the Wednesday. Whilst official confirmation will only come following Friday's draw, all signs point to Liverpool facing its round of 16 away leg on Tuesday, March 10th, with the home fixture following on Wednesday, March 18th. Having been spared an away second leg, Liverpool's top-flight visit to Brighton will proceed as scheduled at 12:30 p.m. GMT on Saturday, March 21st. Liverpool kick off a hectic run of fixtures with a home Premier League clash against West Ham United on Saturday, before a double-header against Wolves, first in the league on Tuesday, then back to Molineux for the FA Cup 5th round 3 days later. In another news, Liverpool prize money from Champions League so far ahead of LAST-16 draw. The UEFA Champions League is arguably the most prestigious competition in club soccer, and it is also a lucrative one for teams to compete in, particularly those that perform well in it. Liverpool's excellent league phase showing meant that Arne Slot and his players could sit back and relax as the playoffs took place this week and last. The Reds will have been grateful for the rest after a busy start to the year, which saw the team play 9 times in January. On Friday, Liverpool will discover more about its possible path to European glory when the draw for the last 16 takes place. And it already knows that its last 16 opponent will be either Atletico Madrid or Galatasaray. The draw will also allocate a side of the bracket for each of the remaining 16 teams, meaning they will know who they could potentially meet in each of the remaining rounds, ahead of a possible reunion with Galatasaray striker Victor Osimhen. As well as the sporting cachet that competing in the Champions League carries, there is a huge financial benefit to being in soccer's most prestigious club competition. All 36 clubs that compete in the league phase receive a flat £16 million fee or $22 million, while there is £1.8 million or $2.4 million on offer for each league phase win. Liverpool won 6 games, so pocketed a cool £11 million or $15 million. Each league phase position is worth £238,000 or $322,000, meaning Liverpool earned more than £8 million or $11 million for finishing third out of 36 teams, while the club also collected over £9 million or $12 million for securing qualification for the last 16. The money that Liverpool will have earned from TV revenue is harder to accurately calculate, but as one of the most popular clubs in the world, it will have received more money than most of the other clubs that competed in the competition. Football 365 estimates that, in total, Liverpool has pocketed £83 million or $112 million from the Champions League so far this season, and that is before factoring in game day revenue from the 4 league phase fixtures Anfield, which was worth several $million per game. Looking ahead, clubs that make it into the quarter-finals will receive a further £11 million or $15 million, while clubs that make it to the semi-finals will receive a further £13 million or $18 million on top of that, and clubs that make it to the final will receive a further £16 million or $22 million on top of that. The winner of the competition can expect to receive a further £6 million or $8 million, as well as an additional £3.5 million or $5 million for qualifying for the European Super Cup. In another news, Liverpool Champions League boost nears as Arne Slot gets major encouragement. Liverpool will discover its last 16 opponent in the Champions League on Friday, before continuing its quest to qualify for next season's competition against West Ham on Saturday. So far this season, Liverpool has generally looked more comfortable in the Champions League than the Premier League, for a variety of different reasons. But unless it wins the whole tournament, qualifying for next year's edition of UEFA's top competition will require finishing above at least one of Chelsea or Manchester United domestically, with the Reds playing catch-up. Aston Villa might be too far ahead to overhaul at this point, while Manchester United is only playing Premier League games because it has no European soccer and is already out of the domestic cups. Realistically, Chelsea is the team that Liverpool should be eyeing to overtake. In its next few matches, Liverpool has West Ham, Wolves, Spurs, Brighton and Fulham. Chelsea, meanwhile, has Arsenal, Aston Villa, Newcastle, Everton and then the 2 Manchester clubs. If Liverpool is to move above Chelsea, then the next few weeks might be the time to do it. But will that be enough to make the Champions League spots? Because of the English side's performances in Europe so far this season, the answer is almost certainly yes. In addition to the Premier League's 4 spots, the top 2 performing nations across the continent get an extra place. Last season, the Premier League got 5 places, but Spurs also won the Europa League, meaning 6 English teams qualified, and that has helped the coefficient this time around. Each win, regardless of the competition, is worth 2 coefficient points, with a draw worth 1. An average is then taken. The 2 countries with the best average get the extra places. England is the only country to still have all of its teams active in Europe, and there are 9 of them. In addition to the 6 in the Champions League, there is also Aston Villa, Nottingham Forest, and Crystal Palace. Quite simply, it will be very hard for the Premier League teams not to earn the 5th qualifying position from this point, with 2 German clubs, 2 Spanish clubs, and 3 Italian clubs now knocked out. There are far more chances for English teams to pick up wins, which should further strengthen the Premier League's hold on the extra qualification spot. At some point, sides from the same country are likely to face each other, but that is the same everywhere. Bayer Leverkusen, for example, could play Bayern Munich next, depending on Friday's draw. For Liverpool to achieve its minimum aim of getting back into the Champions League, the 5th spot is likely to be required. Unlike when it finished 5th under Jurgen Klopp 3 years ago, this time it looks set to be enough. Liverpool.com says, finishing 4th looks hard from here. Liverpool is playing catch-up and Manchester United has the huge advantage of not having many games to tire itself out and pick up injuries. Getting ahead of Chelsea feels realistic though, and it was always likely that 5th would be sufficient. Given the way that the UEFA competitions are going, no surprise given the financial edge that the English teams have, that looks not far off being mathematically confirmed. In another news, Liverpool Champions League rematch confirmed after red card controversy. Liverpool now know which teams they could meet in the round of 16 and quarter-finals of the Champions League. Liverpool will face a rematch against either Atletico Madrid or Galatasaray in the Champions League round of 16 next month. The Reds faced the duo during the opening league stage, beating Atletico 3-2 at Anfield on the first match day before losing 1-0 to Galatasaray in Istanbul a fortnight later. The Turkish side booked their place when surviving a major scare at Juventus in their playoff second leg on Wednesday evening. Having won 5-2 at home the previous week, Galatasaray were beaten 3-2 after extra time to eventually go through 7-5 on aggregate. Juventus were 3-0 ahead at the end of normal time, despite being reduced to 10 men when only 1 goal up 3 minutes into the second half after one-time Liverpool target Lloyd Kelly was controversially dismissed. Atletico progressed the previous night when, having been held to a 3-3 draw at Club Brugge last week, they cruised to a 4-1 triumph against the Belgian side in Madrid. The draw for the last 16, which takes place in Nyon from 11 AM on Friday morning, will also map out Liverpool's potential route to the final in Budapest on May 30th. Should they reach the quarter-finals, Arne Slot's side will face one of Chelsea, Barcelona, Newcastle United and Paris Saint-Germain, with the holders having drawn at home 2 to Monaco in Wednesday night's playoff second leg to go through on aggregate. Although the dates for Liverpool's round of 16 tie are still to be confirmed, it is likely the first leg will be played on Tuesday, March 10th, with the Anfield return on Wednesday, March 18th. Real Madrid and Atalanta, who came from 2-0 down in the first leg to win 4-1 at home to Borussia Dortmund, also won through the playoffs to join Arsenal, Bayern Munich, Tottenham Hotspur, Sporting Lisbon, Manchester City, Bodo Glimt and Bayer Leverkusen in the last 16. In another news, Liverpool target in bizarre incident as Champions League tie ends in chaos with 3 red cards. Atalanta completed a remarkable Champions League comeback against Borussia Dortmund, with 3 dismissals and a stoppage time penalty winner capping a chaotic finale on Wednesday. The Champions League encounter between Atalanta and Borussia Dortmund erupted into chaos during the dying moments on Wednesday. Dortmund had carried a 2-goal cushion into the second leg in Bergamo, but the Serie A side rallied to draw level on aggregate by the interval. The hosts maintained their impetus after the restart, with Mario Pasalic striking a third goal of the night for Atalanta. It placed them within touching distance of a remarkable turnaround, with Atalanta having never before overturned a 2-goal deficit heading into a second leg in UEFA competition. However, their jubilation was temporarily halted when Karim Adeyemi bent home an elegant strike from the edge of the area to restore parity on aggregate, with the contest appearing destined for extra time. Yet drama soon unfolded at the New Balance Arena. Deep into injury time, the home side was granted a spot kick following a VAR review. Rami Bensebaini caught Nikola Kristovic on the head inside the box with a careless high boot, as the Atalanta striker attempted to connect with a cross following an error by visiting goalkeeper Gregor Kobel. Kristovic was left with blood streaming from his head, whilst Bensebaini was brandished a second yellow card for the infringement. Liverpool-linked Nico Schlotterbeck was then shown a red card despite being amongst the Dortmund substitutes for his response to the penalty decision, whilst Atalanta defender Giorgio Scalvini was also dismissed, despite having been substituted around 20 minutes earlier, reports the Mirror. The drama wasn't over yet, as Lazar Samazic fired his penalty beyond Gregor Kobel to propel his team into the last 16 with the final kick of the game. The Italian outfit will now meet either Arsenal or Bayern Munich. Responding to the excitement, ex-Liverpool defender Stephen Warnock remarked, "What a penalty that was, and what a comeback by Atalanta." He added, "Atalanta had to come out and do something tonight, being 2-0 down from last week. So they have attacked it and got their reward." But then Dortmund boss Niko Kovac has made changes. He has been brave. Even though he has gone 3 goals down tonight, he knew they only had to nick a goal to get back in the tie. It was a game full of mistakes, including the one that led to the late penalty that settled it. Atalanta will go into the last 16 draw on Friday, when Liverpool is set to discover its opponents in the next stage of the competition, as well as its potential path to the final. That's the latest on Liverpool's Champions League rollercoaster. Drop your predictions for the last 16 draw in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more Reds updates.